What up, Cyclone Nation? Welcome back to Cyclone Central, episode 7. We are in the dog days of June. No more Texas Tech talk. No more Brennan Sorsby talk. All we are waiting on now, at least for me, is my preview magazine from Phil Steele coming in early July. My name's JJ Caldwell from Cyclone Kingdom. I'm here with Owen from Top Tier Iowa State. How are you this fine evening, sir?
I'm doing good. Welcome in those of you who are just tuning in from X, which is where we're currently live, to Cyclone Central, where we bring the latest news, information, and updates about everything Cardinal and Gold.
Yep, so we are going to be diving back into our top fives today. We are finished with the offense. All love to the Iowa State offensive linemen. I'm sure there's a lot of great ones out there, but it is tough to track those stats, as we said last week. So if we do not do a top 5 offensive lineman, it's not because we don't know about them. It's because there's too many to choose from, and we appreciate you if you're a former Cyclone offensive lineman. So we're moving on to defense today. We'll be doing top 5 defensive line of all time. And then we're talking about your number 1 recruiting class of 2027 Iowa State Cyclones. Rocking the Jamarian Bateman NIL shirt today. Shout out our guys over at Cyclone Fanatic and the shirts they make over there. So a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We're in the middle of the off season, so we gotta figure out things to talk about because there's no more Texas Tech drama and no more Milan Momcilovic drama, and we've had quite the couple weeks, Owen, over here at Cyclone Central, and it feels like it's all kind of tempered down now.
Yeah, no, and it's really honestly just because of Brennan Sorsby situation and all the drama and chaos that brought throughout the weeks. But now that that's kind of cooled down, come to an end, we can start getting back to these top 5 rankings and talking about other stuff. Like AJ said, the fact that Iowa State has a number 1 recruiting class in the country for the 2027 college basketball season. So that's going to be fun to talk about and keep track of throughout the summer and leading up to this basketball season. So AJ, I think we're good to go ahead and start listing off our top 5 best Iowa State defensive linemen in Iowa State football history. So I'll let you lead off with number 5 here.
Yeah. So again, this is defensive tackles and defensive ends. If you're curious about top 5 defensive tackles and defensive ends, over at Cyclone Kingdom, we're going to do different position groups for that. But for today, it's the top 5 overall defensive linemen, which is tough because when you think about it, I mean, I had 10 to 12 guys written down. There's a lot of guys that can be on this list. There's not a lot of parity with defensive tackles, but when you get to defensive end, it gets very interesting. So I'll be curious to see what direction you go in, Owen. But to kick us off at number 5, this was a guy in the Dan McCartney era in the height of the Cy-NATO helmet, if you will. If you imagine someone in a Cy-NATO helmet in a white Iowa State jersey, you probably picture Sean Moorhead. Sean Moorhead is the number 5 best defensive lineman of all time for me. Just a dog of a football player. Was a great just kind of core of those Iowa State defenses. Keep in mind, Iowa State defense wasn't really known for being very good until Matt Campbell and John Haycock arrived. So Sean Moorhead being on this list tells you just how good he actually was at the defensive end position. He played a little bit of linebacker, which you and I talked about a little bit, Owen, off camera. So he kind of moved around a little bit, which shows you just how much of a Swiss Army knife he was. But played for the McCartney era, was a great defensive player, had very key sacks. I think I remember him having a key sack in a Cy-Hawk game and some other Big 12 games. So he definitely played in the big moments and made plays in the big moments. But the only reason he's not higher is because it was in the era of Cyclone football that people would like to forget, and that is the post-Seneca Wallace kind of era. And that was kind of a tough time for Iowa State too. You know, think about how Dan McCartney left and then Gene Chizik coming on, and it was a rough spot for Cyclone football. But wanted to give Sean Moorhead respect because he deserves to be on this list simply by talent alone. A shorter guy, not super big, but made up for it with his tenacious play. So Sean Moorhead's number 5.
Yeah. He's my number 5 as well. So me and AJ are starting off right on par with that. Had 14 sacks in just his 2 years at Iowa State, which is, like AJ said, pretty impressive stats there. Had one interception as well his senior year, so something that you don't usually see from defensive linemen. However, there is a guy further down this list that had more than an interception, had more than a fumble or a fumble recovery, and we'll get to him shortly here. But definitely an impressive stat line, and yeah, I agree. Sean Moorhead fits perfect at that 5 spot.
Yeah. No, he's great. And again, the Cynado helmets, bring them back. Bring him back. It's cool to see Jimmy Rogers embracing the Cynado phase. So, number 4 on the list is a recent guy, and I mean very recent. And I went back and forth, even up until we hit record, on whether or not to put this guy here because am I showing recency bias? Am I not giving credit to the other guys? And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no. From a defensive tackle standpoint, this guy's one of the best ever at Iowa State. Big Citrus, Dominique Orange. Just got drafted by the Vikings. So he's going to show out. I think he's going to start in Minnesota, which is pretty cool. But Dominique Orange, over 300 pounds, and you would never know it. The guy moved like nobody you've ever seen before at Iowa State from defensive tackle. Right? Defensive ends move in a certain way where they're supposed. I mean, you're going to hear guys, in a couple minutes as we give our top 3 that are just absolute gamers, right? Dominique Orange played at nose guard or right off a nose guard. So he doesn't really get all the glamorous snaps or all the glamorous plays, but he sure made up for it. He made the Iowa State defense. Keep this in mind, guys. With John Haycock, they were a 3-3-5 defense. A 3-3-5. What that meant is you were basically giving up the middle and saying, we hope you can't run on us because we're going to take away the pass. Think about the West Virginia game with Will Greer and them just causing hell on earth for Will Greer by just making him run around the pocket for 15 seconds. Well, a part of what made the 2024 team so great is you also couldn't run the ball in the 3-3-5 because Dominique Orange was in the middle. And I'm not talking about Dominique Orange and somebody else. It was Dominique Orange by himself clogging up the run lanes and allowing, a Will McDonald or allowing an Orion Vance or allowing these linebackers to come down and make tackles. So I have to give Dominique credit for that. He also had key sacks in big moments, which from a defensive tackle standpoint, I mean, I'm a Chiefs fan. I've seen what Chris Jones can do. To see Dominique Orange do that to Iowa offensive linemen, which I guess Iowa's not O-line university anymore then, because if Dominique Orange can beat 2 of your guys by himself, what are you really? He's just
frauds.
Right. He was just that good at getting to the quarterback from the center and guard position. I'm talking about beating double teams and everything. So I can go on and on, but Dominique Orange, he gets so much respect from me. Being a part of the 2024 Iowa State team, which is the best of all time, doesn't hurt either. Being the main nose guard there. So yeah, Big Citrus, got to give him respect. Super talented guy, just off the walls athleticism for being over 300 pounds. He's got to be number 4.
Yeah, and that's a solid number 4 pick. He's probably going to be an honorable mention for me. Kind of maybe more towards that 6 to 8 range. But my number 4 is Jaquan Bailey. So another pretty recent guy. Bailey was a 5-year player. Started off as a freshman. His first year was Matt Campbell's first year, and honestly had a pretty impactful freshman year, totaling up 3.5 sacks, 22 total tackles. So came in and made an instant impact right away, and just kind of got better as the years went on, like a lot of players in the Matt Campbell era that we've seen. But a lot of people, when they think of Matt Campbell, they think of the 3-3-5. They think of John Haycock's 3-3-5 defense. And Jaquan Bailey was the first guy, and I know there's Will McDonald, and we'll get to him later. He's further down the rails, but Jaquan Bailey was the Dominique Orange of the 3-3-5. He was the disruptor, the chaos causer, the I'm just gonna wreak havoc on this offensive line. I'm gonna blow up double teams. I'm gonna beat my beat my guy, beat the offensive tackle to the outside, and get pressure on the QB. And that's why, like you said, we saw games against West Virginia where he was just causing absolute havoc, wreaking havoc on Will Greer and that West Virginia offensive line, because of his speed, because of his hands, his mobility. He is, I believe, the second leading sack record holder, whatever you want to call it, in Iowa State football history. Had 25 and a half sacks in his career. Most sacks he ever had in a season was 2018, 5, yep, it was, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Still 2018, 8 sacks, and I'm pretty sure half of those came against West Virginia. But like I said, impactful player, had a great tenure at Iowa State. So number 4, Jaquan Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just piggyback off of you. He's number 3 for me. What he did in the 3-3-5, so we just talked about Dominique Orange and kind of being the run disruptor. To be Jaquan Bailey's talent level in a 3-3-5 is very impressive. And we're going to get to a guy who is just as, if not more impressive later on this list. But Jaquan Bailey, at that time, and this isn't a hot take, I don't think, was top 5 in the Big 12 in terms of rushing the quarterback. I mean, in terms of game records that could get to the quarterback and make plays, Jaquan Bailey was that guy. War number 3, which I thought was super cool. It was kind of in an era where a lot of defensive ends and defensive linemen wore these large numbers, and we're just kind of like these big old hogs. He was just like this freak finesse guy where he was just, I'm going to get to the quarterback and there's nothing you can do about it. And you bring up the West Virginia game, you think of really any Big 12 game during that era, he was part of the ascension. He was part of the rise of Iowa State football. So when we talk about the Alan Lazards and the Kyle Kemps and the David Montgomerys, Jaquan Bailey's right in that group with him. He was one of those core guys. Again, I'll use the Chris Jones example. The reason the Chiefs have been so good is because they've had a quarterback, a coach, a tight end, and you have to have someone on defense. Well, the 2017 to 2019 Cyclones, that era, you had Brock Purdy, you had Dave Montgomery, and you had Jaquan Bailey. I mean, Jaquan Bailey was your guy. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. That's a Cyclone fan. Like, he was the defense. Without him, you were screwed. And so he deserves to be top 3. Like you said, top 5 all time in sacks in the Big 12, which is awesome. Such a cool thing because we actually have 2 guys in the top 5 in terms of sacks in Big 12 history, which we're going to get to the other one in just a second. But yeah, Jaquan Bailey, really, really cool individual, just great for the Iowa State community, deserves to be top 3 on this list.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty here with our top 3 through 1 picks. And these were really tough. I think the number 1 spot is a little easier, but the 2 and 3 spots, at least for me, were just really hard to pick. And honestly, it could go either way, but I'm gonna have to have Brent Kirby at my number 3. They called him, I guess, Brent Big Play Kirby or Big Time Kirby because this dude had thick 6s, he had interceptions, he was a freak athlete all over the field, racked up over 100 tackles in his 3 years, technically 2, because in 2004 he didn't play, so in 2 years Iowa State had over 100 total tackles, 13 and a half sacks. AJ, this is generational talent. This is someone who's a freak athlete who's a 101. And I was like many other guys on our top 5 lists. Wasn't around to watch live but I'm sure there's highlights of him. I'm sure there's tape and there's film of this guy, and just the monster plays that he made, the impact he had on the team, and so number 3, Brent Kirby.
Yeah, I mean we're basically kind of just stacking chairs with each other. Brent Kirby's number 2 for me. So I thought before I went to the 2019 Silent game that I'd never been to an Iowa State game. That was my first true Jack Trice experience, whatever it is. And the more and more I think about it, the more and more I have like this fever dream in 2005 that I was somewhere in Jack Trice Stadium, and it was actually like a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event that I went to with my dad, and it was Iowa State, Colorado. If you remember, Iowa State, Colorado was this team that was kind of, lurking in the Big 12. This is when it was North and South. We were talking about this a little bit last week. North and South divisions and everything. And Iowa State was kind of in the post-Seneca Wallace phase. What do we do now? Brett Myers coming in. We got Todd Blythe. And Brent Big Play Kirby had a scoop and score touchdown in the third quarter, fourth quarter. Actually ended up on ESPN that night, which for Iowa State fans in 2005 was like the best thing of all time. If Iowa State football ended up on ESPN, it was like, whoa. And he was just rumbling and stumbling. I don't know if you've seen I'm going to forget it, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the largest human beings to ever intercept a football or something. And the announcer on the call said the earth is shaking when he was running.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
That's what it felt like in Jack Trice that night when Brent Big Play Kirby was bumbling and stumbling 65 yards to the end zone. Is you could literally see Jack Trice shaking because it was loud and because Brent Kirby was making plays. So he's awesome. He's a really cool guy. He stayed within the Iowa State community. I've seen him do a podcast with Iowa State guys, which is super cool. So, I was very young, so I don't remember a ton, but I do was I there for that? Was that just a dream? No, that was reality. I was there for one of the big thick sixes of Brent Kirby's career against Colorado. And yeah, just one of the best defensive linemen of all time for Iowa State, and just the talent and the big playability speaks for itself.
Yeah. So I guess I'm at number 2 now.
Yep.
AJ's at number 1.
Yep.
And this is not a guy that was in AJ's top 5.
Whoa!
So you either A, forgot him or didn't think of him, or B, could be an honorable mention.
Okay.
But for me, it's going to be Mike Stensrud. Stensrud was a player in the 70s, defensive tackle in the 70s, Iowa native, is from Lake Mills, Iowa, and this guy was a monster. This guy was a Mack truck, someone who you just could not run through, just disrupted offensive lines, interior offensive lines. And AJ is looking at me like he just saw a ghost. He's confused. Have you ever heard of this guy? I mean,
no, I have.
I did research on him, and I was like, whoa.
Yep.
So he was an All-American in the Big 8, recorded a staggering 306 career tackles from his defensive line position.
That's
306 tackles. Iowa State Hall of Famer. He topped the conference in sacks, 15 sacks in 1977 when Iowa State led the Big 8 in scoring defense, and ranked second in rushing and total defense. So obviously Iowa State, very good defensive team. He was a second-round NFL pick by the Houston Oilers, going back all the way to the Oilers there. But yeah, this guy, old-timer, and we've had some of those, so if there's any older Iowa State fans, like we said before watching, they probably remember these guys. But Mike Stensrud, you just look at him, there's a few pictures, you can just Google him, of this guy, and you just look at him, you're like, holy crap, this dude looks just massive, huge, scary, your typical stereotypical 1970s, 1980s big defensive line football player with the big shoulder pads and the helmet with the face mask, and it was like a cross face mask, so it had all this. There was like no room to see out of it, so it was just awesome. This dude was awesome. So my number 2, Mike Stensrud.
Yeah, I messed up. I totally. It was, you know what? It was bound to happen because I was born in '98, and I didn't watch the '70s or '80s Cyclones. So doing research, it was bound to happen that I was going to forget somebody. As soon as you said his name, it took me a second or two to remember who you were talking about. And as soon as you started describing him, I was like, well, that was someone who was supposed to be on my top 5 list. But
it's okay. It happens. It
happens. It won't be the last time it happens. But shout out Mike Stensrud. You have a special place in my heart.
Passed away just 2 years ago, actually.
That's right. Yeah. I do remember that. So No, shout out to him. He was an absolute mountain. He was an absolute mountain. Number one on the list. I think we can both kind of speak about this guy.
Does this continue the streak then? How many? How
Dude,
many?
I
How
think
many
yeah,
top fives if we had the same number one?
dude, I think we've had the same number one the entire time. So I'll
Yeah,
be curious to see if that
every
if that
position group so far.
trend continues. But
But I'll let you determine that here.
yeah, Will McDonald is one of the greatest athletes Iowa State's ever seen. Let's just stop for a second and not talk about defensive line for a second. When you think about the guys Matt Campbell brought in during his tenure at Iowa State, and you think about their big playability and their talent level, and whatever stars they were coming out of high school, I would be remiss if I did not put Will McDonald top three, and he ain't three in that conversation. Freak of an athlete, could have played any other sport he wanted to. Built like an NFL superstar, which, by the way, he's turning into one. Keep in mind, Will McDonald plays for the Jets. If Will McDonald didn't play for anybody else besides the Jets, and I mean literally anybody else, we might be talking about this guy as an all-pro in the next 2 years. The Jets are historic for wasting talent, and unfortunately, there are 3 Iowa State Cyclones on the Jets. So pray for Breece Hall and Kenny Nwangu and Will McDonald. Will McDonald shattered the record books.
Yeah.
Shattered the record books. And you might be thinking, well, there hasn't been that many great pass rushers in Big 12 history, has there? Like, he doesn't have much competition. Guys, remember Von Miller? Remember Texas A&M Von Miller that would just...
I honestly can't think of a better pass rusher in modern Big 12 history than
Yeah.
McDonald.
Like,
The past 10 years.
the guy caused chaos at Texas A&M. Like, Von Miller did terrible things to offensive linemen. And then Will McDonald came in the league and was like, yeah, I'm going to shatter that sack record by 3 sacks? 4 sacks? I'll have to fact check it. But he is clear and away the all-time sack leader in Big 12 history. Clear and away one of the best defensive lineman prospects Iowa State's ever had. Guys, he was a first-round draft pick from defensive line. That's huge. That is unheard of at Iowa State University. And so I want to shout him out. He's been awesome for Iowa State. I don't know if you saw the NFL films when they did the New York Jets, when Aaron Rodgers came and they did the whole Hard Knocks and everything, and it was this huge hoopla. Obviously didn't pan out because Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. But they did Hard Knocks, and there was an episode that circulated around Twitter among Cyclone fans of Will McDonald going up against, in one of the joint practices, someone from the Texans or something like that. And the lineman looks at him at one point, and he's like, dang, bro. He's like, where'd you go to school? And Will McDonald just stops everything and says, Iowa State. Like, he didn't say, oh, some small school in Iowa. He didn't say, oh, you've probably never heard of it. He said it with his chest. He said Iowa State. And that was, like, so cool for everyone watching Hard Knocks and everyone following Will McDonald's NFL journey, just to see, like, this guy is representing the Cyclones well. And especially in the NIL era now, we need that. We need a Will McDonald. We need a Breece Hall. We need a Brock Purdy to go take the NFL and take it by storm. Guys, real quick, and then I want to let you go. Breece Hall, Brock Purdy, Will McDonald, all top 10, top 15 at their position. In the National Football League. If you can name 10 to 15 quarterbacks, running backs, and defensive ends better than those guys, I need to know who they are. Because they are not any lower than 15. That is what Iowa State has created because of Matt Campbell. I know we don't think too highly of him nowadays, but the era that he built has to be respected because of guys like that. Because Iowa State's defense was Swiss cheese before that, and Matt Campbell brought guys in and brought John Haycock in and brought Will McDonald in, and in a flash, Iowa State was playing in a Big 12 championship game. Thank you, Will McDonald.
Yeah. Just an incredible athlete at 6'4", 240 pounds. I mean, just the way he moved, the way he was able to shed blocks. I mean, he was just so fast. Had the speed of a fast linebacker, but the strength of a defensive tackle, which is just a freak human athlete. And I should point this out. Only had 3 offers coming out of high school: Iowa State, New Mexico, and Wisconsin.
Yep.
And so this wasn't a guy. He was a .86 on 24/7's rating. So for those who and this is hitting on recruiting, say, oh, they're not getting any 4 stars, or they're not who are they getting? They're getting average guys with no offers. Well, these average guys with no offers are now playing in the NFL, making hundreds of millions of dollars. So obviously, like you said, Matt Campbell deserves a lot of praise and a lot of respect for the way he was able to develop players like Will McDonald, Brock Purdy, Breece Hall from mid-average 3 stars into NFL superstars, and that's exactly what Will McDonald is, and is going to be in the NFL in the coming years. And so, and like you said, it sucks he's on the Jets. Maybe he gets traded, maybe he whatever, but. Even then and there, he's still making plays. He's still all over the field. Pass rushing, sacking quarterbacks, and all that. So Will McDonald, unanimously number 1 defensive lineman in Iowa State history.
So stay tuned to find out when we disagree on number 1, because we've had this is 5 straight position groups now that we are simpatico on number 1. So we still got
linebacker. I think it's going to be linebacker.
I would be shocked if it's not linebacker. So we still got linebackers to get to. We still got secondary to get to. We'll have to figure out if we want to do safeties by themselves and corners by themselves or all together, because there's a lot of great names on that list. Mm-hmm. And then to close it out before we get into our season previews in a couple weeks, we got to do return specialists, and coaches in Cyclone football history. So stay tuned for that. It should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Your Iowa State Cyclones are not number 1 in the Big 12. They're not number 1 in the Midwest region. They're not number 1 in the state of Iowa. They're number 1 in the United States of America for the recruiting class of 2027. You say recruiting class of 2027. That's a year and a half away. Who cares about that? Apparently not you, because Iowa State basketball cares a whole lot about stacking talent and stacking dudes that are absolute ballers for the Cyclones. And so here's where I want to start, Owen, because we're obviously going to get into Jack Conan, Josiah Harrington, and Donovan Davis. But before I do that, a little PSA, if you will. If you're going to trash talk, or you're going to talk smack about, this Iowa State player is not this Iowa State player is not that, their rating's not this, their rating's not that, you probably should make sure they're outside the top 100. And you probably should make sure that you're not trash talking someone because they're only 85th in the world. Guys, there are tens of thousands of high school ratings. Tens of thousands. And Iowa State has 3 of the top 100 high school basketball players going into 2027. 3 of the top 100. 3% of the best players in America going to college next year are going to be in Ames, Iowa. That is unheard of. And that shows you exactly why, as we're going to get to, why TJ Otzelberger has solidified Iowa State as this premier college basketball program, and it doesn't have to take an Elite 8 to prove that. And I'll explain what I mean later. But, Owen, 3 of the top 100 are coming to Ames, Iowa, and we have the number 1 recruiting class in 2027. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling great, and I'm actually just trying to gather some information here, but Iowa State, Iowa State for 2027 has, like you said, 3 top 100 players in the country. Iowa State in the past 3 seasons has a combined 3. Dating all the way back to 2024, unless Google's lying to me, unless it's lying to me, which I'm pretty sure. No, yeah, it's so Nojas Indrusitis was the only one for the 2024 class, and then you go to 2025 here. Let's see, I believe
before that it was Omaha Blue. I know.
Yeah, Omaha. Yeah, he was one of them. I'm trying to think of when. Dorian Ronaldo Coleman.
Okay.
So he's on the team this year.
He'll be a,
He's
yep,
going
he'll be a
through,
freshman.
but a young guy.
Yep.
And I mean Christian Wiggins is 101, so he doesn't break top 100.
I might as well go
2026. We skipped right over 2025.
Yeah.
It's being glitchy on me, but yeah,
Okay.
Jamarian Bateman, Killian Torrey wasn't, Xavier Mitchell wasn't, Omaha Blue I believe was 2023. So dating back to 2023, he was the 13th best in the country. But
Okay.
my point being, this recruiting class is stacked. It's got a lot of talent. It's got the best players, not just from the Midwest, not just from Wisconsin, but from the entire United States. And speaking of Wisconsin, that's TJ's second home. That's
Cyclone
basically
State.
might as well
Cyclone
call
State.
Iowa TJ and Wisconsin Otzelberger, because TJ Otzelberger owns the state of Wisconsin. Not Wisconsin, not Marquette, not Iowa, not Nebraska, but TJ Otzelberger. That Wisconsin pipeline runs deep and it runs well. And I do not expect that to change anytime soon. And in this class, this 2027 class is just a showcase for it. So super excited about these kids coming in. I know Davis is more of a kind of a stretch forward.
Yep.
Not necessarily Josh Jefferson, but a little bigger than,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff. Maybe he could develop, but maybe
he's got a lot of J. Jeff in him, man.
Josh Jefferson, a little more athletic, little more twitchy, but
he's got a lot of Josh Jefferson in him.
The most recent pickup, Jack Conan, had very similar offers that Donovan Davis has. So let's pull these up here.
Where else was Jack Conan looking to go, Owen?
I'm gonna get that in 3, 2, 1. Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana, and Notre Dame.
Don't say not Elite 8 Iowa. Surely they can get a top 100 player.
Surely, well, because they made an Elite 8, they're just gonna get a bunch of 5 stars now. That's not how it works.
They're the national champs, dude.
We're an Iowa State podcast. We said this before, but Iowa's our rival, so we gotta do a little smack talk every now and then.
Didn't you know that an Elite 8 is the new national championship? If you make an Elite 8, you've arrived. That's it.
It's their first time. It's their first time being relevant this century.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
but look, Iowa fans, congrats on the Elite 8. It's cute, it's fun. That Cinderella run, they did nothing in the regular season.
Yeah. You're no better than VCU or George Mason or St. Peter's. Like, they have as much competence and relevance as you guys.
Yeah, and so, but if you want to land recruits like this, if you want to land 4-star commits and have top 10, top 15 classes consistently, you have to do it more than once. You have to prove it.
Which they have a chance.
They do have a chance.
Top 15 point guard in America is visiting Iowa. My jaw dropped when I saw it because I was like, surely not Iowa. He's not going to waste his college basketball career in Iowa City, is he? If he wants to play for Ben McCollum and Iowa can get that guy, guess what? My respect for Ben McCollum only grows. It is not diminished yet.
And it's
my respect
Ben
for him
McCollum.
only grows.
It's Iowa's now caught the attention and caught the eyes of recruits like him.
Yep.
I'm not sure where their class ranks. I don't know how many commits they have. Maybe 2, but they don't really have any offers from anyone major, any power, maybe one Power 4 school. But
Yeah.
my point being, like I said, Iowa. I will respect Iowa fans and Iowa and Ben McCollum a lot more if they can live up to the success that Iowa State has had the past 3 or 4 years. If they can beat Iowa State, which honestly I don't see happening anytime soon. And it's not like, oh, Iowa State, we return more players than them or we're projected higher than them, which it's true. But because of how good Iowa State is in the non-con, right? It's and Ben McCollum's a great coach.
Yeah.
But Iowa's non-con, I mean, Mississippi Valley State, DePaul, Xavier, like they didn't play anyone in the non-con. So definitely, and I think there was something actually a couple months ago where teams didn't want to schedule them. And I don't know what that was about, but
Yeah.
the Cy-Hawk game every year, It'll be in Carver Hawkeye Arena this year. It'll be packed, but TJ always has his team ready to go going into November. So,
Oh, Carver will be packed all right. It just won't be packed with Iowa fans.
yeah,
let's be real about
who knows? Maybe because they're relevant and they're actually something. There'll be more Iowa fans in there, but
I don't know, man. Are you really relevant if you make an Elite Eight and then a month later aren't even in a preseason top 25 for anybody?
Yeah, and it's,
Really
because of
relevant?
Bennett Sturts, and that's kind of where we don't have as much respect for Iowa as Iowa fans think we should, or as people think we should,
Dude,
because like I said, Iowa did nothing. I mean, Bennett Sturts carried that team in every single game. Iowa would not have sniffed the tournament if Bennett Sturts wasn't on the team
like
because of Ben McCollum.
should I have respect for Oakland because of what Jack Golke did to Kentucky? Like that's what that argument sounds like. Like, do I have to have respect for? Remember the mustache dude for St. Pierce? Do I have to have respect for them now because they beat
Doug
Kentucky?
Edert.
You notice how Kentucky's always in these upsets. By the way, I love that. I love that.
I love
Oh,
it.
I love that.
Love
Uh,
how we're incorporating the Kentucky trash talk.
I
This is
digress. I
awesome.
digress. It's one of my new favorite hobbies, though.
And we're not doing it on purpose.
No!
Kentucky just sucks so bad in the tournament. We can't
It's not
have it
our
going.
fault you haven't been relevant since 2018. My point is, when Iowa fans want the respect, you have to earn it by doing something more than once. Like, you can't just say, oh, this team did this for one good season, therefore you must pay your respects. Guys, the Philadelphia Eagles waxed my Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl and have been awful dog water since then. Like, terrible. There are such things as flukes, and I think Iowa fans don't want to come to grips with that because they don't understand it's still a Cyclone State. That county or that city that you won the Elite Eight in might be a Hawkeye city. But when you come back to the state of Iowa, it's still a Cyclone State in basketball. And in football until apparently you can beat Jimmy Rogers. Okay? So let's call it like we see it. Iowa State's #1 recruiting class proves they are not only the best team in Iowa by a long shot, they're the best team in the country by a long shot. Like, or top 10. I'm not saying they're the #1 team. What I'm saying is Iowa State has proven themselves over the last 5 years, 3 Sweet 16s in 5 years, taking a team from 2-20 to the Sweet 16 in one season, turning a 4-star Milo Momcilovic into the best shooter college basketball's ever seen, turning a Taman Lipsey, who couldn't shoot a three-point shot because he was scared to, into a guy who knocked down a 30-footer and would have been remembered if Jaden Bradley didn't go down and hit a buzzer beater. That's who the Iowa State has been. They have turned into a juggernaut in college basketball. Yeah. Ask Purdue, ask Kentucky, ask Arizona. They've turned into a juggernaut. And they can hang with the big boys if they stay healthy. And this is the only thing I will never understand. The amount of people to this day who still say Iowa State hasn't made an Elite Eight. See, this is why they're bad. Let me turn the question over. If you, as a college basketball fan, lost your team's best player, your best player in back-to-back tournaments, and you didn't go as far as your team wanted you to, and you guys didn't advance the Elite Eight, and rival fan bases turned around to you and said, see, this is why they're not good. How would you feel? You'd feel slighted a little bit, right? Well, friends, brace yourself. Because that's what Iowa State fans go through every March. Every March. Every March we have a great team. Every March we're a 2 or 3 seed. Every March we're ready to rumble. And within 5 minutes of a game, or before the tournament even starts, hey, by the way, your best player, groin injury. Your best player rolls his ankle. Your best player broke his foot. Guys, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we're still top 15. That's not a mistake. Iowa State going into the season lost Josh Jefferson, lost Taman Lipsey, lost Milo Momcilovic, and is still top 15. They're still top 15.
I made a post like a week ago about all these people that have Iowa State as top 15. I'm like, Iowa State, and this wasn't a troll, this wasn't a joke, this is just a fact. Iowa State is now to the point where they are considered on an annual basis as a top 15, top 20 program in college basketball because of TJ Otzelberger and because of that program and that culture and name's Iowa. So in terms of success, in terms of, and we started this podcast well after the basketball season ended, but there's two arguments when you ask the question, who had the better season in 2025, Iowa or Iowa State? And
that was the big question, yeah.
And I can respect and I can honor the fact that there's two really good arguments for both sides, because there are people that say, "Oh, it only matters what you do in March." Well, it only matters, or you have to look at the whole season. How many teams did you beat? How many ranked teams did you beat? How far did you go in your conference tournament? How many All-Americans did you have? Both arguments are reasonable, and I'm going to show a little bias from my side here. I do think the second one, I do think the one where you take multiple things, not just how far you made it in March, into consideration, because Iowa only made it one round farther than Iowa State. They didn't make the Final Four. They got a laughable draw with Nebraska, and we know Nebraska is owned by Iowa. They are owned by Iowa like Mountain Dew and Fanta is owned by Coke. All right. They are the laughing stock of the Midwest. We don't like Iowa, but we also don't like Nebraska. So it's fun to make fun of Nebraska for losing to Iowa in the Elite Eight. That must have really sucked for them and as a school, as a fan base, being relevant, like Iowa being relevant in basketball for the first time in forever. A little Disney song for the first time in forever. Kind of thing.
That's the theme song they play in Carver Hawkeye Arena.
Yeah. But anyways, Iowa State is a really good basketball team, and
elite.
The scoreboard in Hilton,
elite.
The scoreboard in Hilton lives up to that. The scoreboard in Carver in 2024 lives up to that.
Yep.
The scoreboard in Hilton in 2023 lives up to that. Iowa State is the best basketball team in the state of Iowa. And it might be close. It might be closer than in previous years, but there's still, like I said, there's still a lot of things that Iowa and Ben McCollum have to do to prove that they can run with Iowa State, to prove that they can finally bring some other form of Power 5 competition in the state of Iowa for Iowa State.
Here's all I request. When, not if, when Iowa comes back to earth this season and next season and the year after that, here's what I want. In 2029, I still want Iowa fans to say, but 2026.
We made that run. We made the Elite Eight.
All the way back there when we did that, that's what I want, because that's how much confidence they have in that 2026 Elite Eight. That's how much confidence they have. To your question, who had the better year this past year? That's a fine. I agree with both sides of the argument, by the way. I think Iowa had a great magical run. If we're talking over the last 5 years, stop the conversation. Stop the count. It's not even close.
Okay, here's an argument.
Do you realize Iowa
Elite Eight more times than Iowa State has in the past 20 years? Well, guess what? We've beaten more top 25 teams. We've beaten more top 10 teams. We've had more All-Americans. We've had more wins. We've had more wins against you.
We've been
in
to
the past
more
10
Sweet
years.
16s.
The past 15 years.
No,
so
we've been to more.
That?
Here's a step further. We've been to more Sweet 16s than Iowa has tournament appearances in the last 5 years. I'm going to say it again. We've been to more Sweet 16s than Iowa has tournament appearances. Not we made it and lost the first round. Tournament appearances. Guys, in the last 5 years, Iowa's missed the tournament 3 times. And when they made the tournament, they've lost.
To
this is
Richmond,
the first year they didn't lose.
Auburn, I mean, their best team supposedly when they were like a top 10 team in 2020 or 2021
it drives me insane
or something.
And by the way,
Richmond.
And by the way, the same goes for Kentucky. Because I don't want to just think we're just dunking on Iowa fans right now. Kentucky fans, the same goes for you. You haven't been relevant since 2018. You keep clowning us that we beat a bad Kentucky team. Was it a bad Kentucky team, or did we just beat you without our best player? Which one is it? Because we were hurt too. We were more injured than you were. I don't care if you were missing 2 starters. We were missing a top 10 player in America and made you worked you by 20 and made you quit.
He's worth more than their entire team combined.
So it's not just Iowa fans. It's Kentucky fans where all we have to do, all Brent Bloom has to do is post a tweet of Iowa State being #1 recruiting rankings, and Kentucky fans are like, oh, you're posting about us again. No, we're just better. And when you come in second, I'm sorry, it sucks to be in second. But you're second to one of the best teams in college basketball with one of the best coaches in college basketball. Because here's what I would ask Kentucky fans. Is Iowa State good or is their coach bad? Because it can't be both. You can't say Iowa State's bad and, oh, by the way, when Mark Pope gets fired, we want TJ Otzelberger. You can't do that. That's not a thing. Because by saying we want TJ Otzelberger, who does TJ Otzelberger coach for? It drives me nuts, but this is the last time we're talking about it. You know why? Because a Lion does not concern itself with anyone ranked lower than #1 in the recruiting rankings. A Lion does not concern themselves with someone that quits by 20. A Lion does not concern themselves with a arena that has an Elite 8 court that fans still won't show up at because they care more about wrestling and football that's not good anymore. A Lion doesn't concern itself with that. The Lion concerns itself with a top 10 defender in Kilian Torre, a breakout candidate in Jamarian Bateman, a top 5 coach in TJ Otzelberger, and 3 top 100 recruits in the United States of America for 2027. Iowa State hasn't gone anywhere, but they're here to stay. And when and if we make that Elite 8 run, don't run. Don't run and hide. Stay right where you are because you're getting all the smoke when Iowa State finally has a healthy March run. Because it's coming. The breakthrough is coming. And Iowa and Kentucky fans, you better not log off. Sorry.
Yep, that's great segment there on basketball, and we'll have a lot more to come as we near closer to basketball season. So stay tuned for that. AJ, do you have any final thoughts on today's topics?
I got in my bag a little bit. I'm sorry. My bad.
All good.
My bad.
It's all good.
My bad. No, we appreciate you guys. Iowa and Kentucky fans, we appreciate you too. Continue to interact with us. We appreciate it. The free publicity is amazing. Share it, reshare it, repost it. It's awesome. I don't care. I don't care if you don't think anything about us and you hate us. By you reposting it, it gets us more views. So we appreciate that. We're an exclusive Iowa State podcast bringing you free content and free sources where we give you all the information about Iowa State athletics and your #1 recruiting ranking in 2027 Iowa State Cyclones men's basketball team. He's Owen. I'm AJ. Stay liked and subscribed to Cyclone Central. Follow us on X and on TikTok. And we'll be back later on this week for another episode about the best team in college basketball in 2027. Your Final Four bound Iowa State Cyclones. I'm calling it right now. Final Four bound Iowa State Cyclones.
All right.
That's all I got, man.
That's great. I mean, we like I said, we have plenty of fun stuff, fun topics to talk about here, and yeah, I'm Owen. He's AJ, and as always, roll clones.
Roll clones.